Okay, thank you, my friend, for joining me. This is a safe place to share. If ever you don't feel comfortable answering a question, please just say so. Okay?
Okay, thank
All
you.
right. Yeah, no problem. So again, welcome, Lauren. I really appreciate you being here and telling your past story. So like I said, let's begin with you telling your past story.
Okay. Well, my name is Laura Di Donna, and my past story starts as a child, as all of our past story starts as children. My story was I was a little girl being raised in Long Island, Smithtown. I was the daughter of John and Madeline. My parents are Italian descent. They had a very strong culture and background. They're both deceased now. I believe that they had conditioning put on them from their, generations. Sometimes we all come in with, well, most of the time we all come in with religious beliefs or traditional beliefs and conditioning. So it started from a child. We're all like little sponges. We come in very beautiful, with no resistance, very angelic, kind, beautiful. Every little child comes in that way. And then they're born into a family. For some reason, we get the parents we get. They say that we choose our parents. And I've heard that in the last few years. And I find that very interesting. Whether our parents were, knew better or didn't know better, whatever they put upon us or didn't put upon us, whatever they taught us or didn't teach us, as we all feel in our journey. But my parents were very cultural, and my dad was a very strong Italian man. Um, I believe he didn't know how to make the journey. And my mom was very submissive. My mother also dealt with, she was diagnosed with bipolar. So spent many years witnessing that. And that was a lot. And the frustration within my parents' marriage. I believe she wasn't like that when she first had married my dad, but my dad was a very strong Italian man, expected her to do certain duties of the household, and her place was to serve and to take care and keep us kids, you know, clean and well and everything moving like a fine oiled machine. So I was brought up in a home where my dad was a perfectionist, but he did really not know how to make the journey. He was a different type of person. He yelled and screamed a lot. He um, was violent at times. And, as children were little and we were scared and we were like little sponges just taking that all in. But I realized through all of that, um, and I learned this in 2020, that I had a vision of myself standing there watching my parents argue and fight. And as I'm watching my parents argue and fight, I was really little. I could have been like 4. I was absorbing all of their energy. And I'm an empath. And if anybody knows what that means, I see things, I hear things. I'm very in tune with life. And so I was like a sponge. And I remember saying to myself, I don't want to marry anybody like him. I was, but I remember that hitting me so hard, all that energy of them arguing and him yelling. I remember almost like taking it through the years of cradling it and rocking it like if it was my own responsibility and my own baby. And in 2020, July of 2020, I was doing a lot of work on myself. I've been doing a lot of work for years on myself and the things that had happened um, to myself through my parents or through other people that had put that on me. I remember just having that flashback of actually owning somebody else's dysfunction and dysregulation. And working through all of that through the years, I've been working on myself for many, many years. I've had to pull off at times from even my own family. I had to set boundaries, even though it was very hard. I had to save my own soul. So I remember it just being like it was a baby that I had cradled and rocked for years. And every decision from that moment on, led me to where I am. So our steps take us from children all the way to the very present moment that we're in right now. And hopefully along the way that we learn what's right and wrong, because we do know what's right and we do know what's wrong.
Hmm.
But it is up to us to listen. You can call it Holy Spirit, you can call it spirit, you can call it your internal compass, your intuitive guide, whatever suits you, whatever fits you, and what your beliefs are. I always call it my internal compass. And
Hmm.
for years I didn't always listen to my internal compass, and it cost me. It cost me a lot. It cost me at times um, tearing at my soul and my spirit and who I was as a human. But I have evolved and really have been doing the work and will continue on doing the work on myself until my very last breath, because this is why we're put on this earth. That's one of the reasons why. But in order to make the journey, you really have to manage to allow yourself to overcome, because there's many things that we all struggle with. Some things were put upon us by others, and some things we put upon ourselves. So that is where I'm at, as far as my parents, as far as where I came from. Yes, there was many struggles. I was diagnosed with dyslexia. That was always a big fear. I was a 12-year-old little girl. Back then, I'm a 6-year-old woman now. Back then, they didn't have the tools and resources for that. So it was very difficult to work through that. My self-esteem was really torn apart. My parents, I felt they hindered me in that. Though they thought they were helping, they kind of hindered me. They told me what I couldn't do and what I could do, and they fed into all that. And then I had a lot of fear growing up. I had a lot of fear because my dad was always raging 99% of the time because he was unhappy. Whether
Hmm.
he had to go out, provide, and work, and he was a great provider, but he just didn't know how to make the journey. And the best thing I can say on that is when people put their agenda on you, you have to remember, because in 2020, of July of 2020, I realized I am not responsible for anybody's actions but my own.
Hmm.
If you when you are a part of that, if you have played a part in somebody's unhappiness, or you've done something against somebody, we all know when we do things. So having recognized what I'm responsible for and what I'm not, and then work from there, it takes a lot of work. And it takes at times ripping off the band-aid. Because if we want to live in authenticity, because we've been created to live in that, it is up to us to really go through what we need to go through to get to the other side. Because the way we came in, there should be no resistance. But unfortunately, again, people with their beliefs, their culture beliefs, their religious beliefs, their conditioning beliefs. Society teaches us. It also it exposes us. We must be like little robots. And we march off to work and we do all of that. We drink the Kool-Aid. And before you know it, we are not living our best life. So when you have a moment and where you are awakening and realizing what is happening to you, then the real work begins. And I believe we should all work on ourselves to our very last breath, because when you think you've got it, you really don't. And I remember in 2018, I was like, oh, I've done my work. And my best friend said, really? I'd be careful what you say. And then there was some more work.
Hmm.
It's towers in your life that just come down. And when the tower falls, it scorches everything to the ground. And if you think about the earth, when the fire comes through, it just burns everything down to the surface, which is the earth. And then you can rebuild. You can rebuild. And the earth always comes back. If you live in Arizona along the Beeline, the 87, remember all those fires that went through there and still
Hmm.
continue going through? It burned it down to the earth.
Hmm.
But as you come through there and you start to drive through, whether it took months, years, you can see the earth replenishing. We are like the earth if we choose to be. And just as the towers came down in New York, they fell to the ground and all that debris, But what happened? Out of that, they rebuild and they became stronger. So our lives we're always having to cultivate, expand, um, stretch, grow, even if it's painful. That's the only way you make it through life. Don't stay stuck, because we stay stuck. Many years I was stuck. I was stuck in fear, always being scared. And it started with the yelling. It started with the screaming in my home. I was always afraid. It went from my dad yelling to being afraid of the dark, to being afraid to stepping out, to doing things, um, doubt of who I was, afraid of overcoming, afraid of achieving. And now there's no stopping me. Now there's moving forward. And even though that maybe come back in and try to grip me, I say no, no,
Hmm.
no.
Good for you. So what was it? You mentioned July 2020. What allowed you to flip that switch? Like, because like you said, there were many years, right, of living in this, whatever you want to call it, right? This mode. And
Um,
what was it that took you to literally flip the switch and make the change?
I had been doing a lot of work on myself since I would say since 2014, 15, 16. There was a lot of shifting going on, and even my own personal life with my marriage, that I'm no longer married. I'm divorced, happily that I made that choice. Um, there was just a lot of digging deep and a lot of wanting change in my life. I also have had, at that point, I had two surgeries on my knee, and they weren't successful, and I couldn't extend my leg out and I couldn't extend it back, and my profession was basically stripped from me, and I had to figure things out. A lot of struggling, financially, emotionally, physically, getting back up again, doing it again, getting back up. There was just a lot. There was a lot of things being burnt to the ground. There was a lot of saying it's time to change.
Would you say it was like your rock bottom at that point in
Yeah,
July of 2020?
there was a lot of, even though I was growing and evolving and enjoying some parts of aspect of my life, I still had other things, but I was digging deep to find a better way. And I was tapping into my spirituality, understanding about the mind, the body, the soul, the spirit, the gut. I believe it goes hand in hand. Our mind and the gut line up. You don't eat well, your mind can't have clarity. If everything's off, your soul and your spirit isn't well. So there was a lot of just evolving and growing. There was a lot of just really discovering who I was. So it was like things that come in to cause us to be, unfortunately, humans, we don't want to change on our own. It's usually tragedies that come in that force us to change. Instead of wanting expansion and evolving without having all um, the the damage and the breaking down. We should want to evolve without having to have tragedy. But at times we don't. We're so caught in our own ways, in our own mind, what we think is right, that we don't ever really seek out change unless something tragic happens. So I believe through my life, from, you know, my I believe after the death of my father, I had closure with that. I was able to heal from that, and my did propelled me to get ready to divorce. I got divorced. Um, my leg, through that. My finances were stripped from me. My profession, I couldn't stand to do that. I had to recreate myself, and I did recreate myself, and I kept going to do it, and then my leg would start again and again, and but it really was the desire to change and the desire to really be better. And when you know better, you do better.
So is that what happened in July 2020? It was just like a conscious choice at that point to really,
It was a conscious choice for many years, but it was like little blurbs of showing me, little glimpses of showing me things that kept me stuck, things that kept trauma within my body. Because what happens is trauma stores in your body, from things that have happened to you, whether it was put on you from people or injury, falling, or people have done things to you, violated you, mentally violated you, physically violated you. Um, the trauma stores in our bodies and we carry that and we hold that and that becomes part of the story. So,
N- No, I totally hear what you're saying. I guess I'm just trying to hone in because there's so many people out there, Laura, that have traveled a similar journey, right? But the question is, what does it take to finally make that conscious choice? Like for you, July of 2020, it seems like you have a date in mind. What was it
July
that allowed you to flip that switch? What was it I don't know what I want to leave that question to you if you're willing to answer it.
July 2020 wasn't the day I flipped the switch. It was a day of recognizing why I held on and made choices in my life. And it
And
was
what was the outcome? What was the answer that you received at that point?
why I made choices in the relationships I had. In the relationships that I had, that I'd chosen my husband, that I'd chosen past relationships, relationship that I had at that moment, it was, all fear based. And so flipping the switch on changing my life started years ago. But that was just another layer being peeled back in July 2020. It was just a part that I was stuck, but seeing that for what helped me to be unstuck and say, oh, now I know why I've done this. And then through the years, going through what I had gone through, I went to counseling. And a lot of times people you've been taught it's a shame to go to counseling. It's a fear to tell people problems, but that was the best thing that I've ever done. 2017, I had to go to counseling. I needed help and I went to counseling. It wasn't my first time I had gone to counseling, but during that time was one of the greatest gifts I could have given myself, that I decided to go after my surgery and things just were unfolding and a lot of things I was dealing with. So,
All right. So knowing what you know now, what would you change of your past story if you could for the better?
knowing what I know now is I would not stay in a place of dysregulation, because I feel when you know better, you can do better. But the way we deal with our problems keeps us tied up. It keeps us in a place, a frequency of unhappiness and not finding the solution. So um, I would seek out tools and resources to help myself and to help me be regulated and not dysregulated. And that's what I did. And that's what I continue to do.
Good for
So
you.
propel forward.
Excellent. If you could rewrite your story, would you?
I am rewriting my story right now. I'm rewriting my story with passion and moving forward. I started to go back to school in January, and I'm actually proud of myself. So I no longer hear the chatter that I can't do it. Yes, is it hard at times? Yes, it's hard, but rewriting my story was getting back up again and saying, you know what? I'm going to fight this little voice inside my head that says I cannot do it, and to be fearful, scared, like the boogeyman's going to jump out and get me. Well, I'm not
Mhm.
that girl anymore, so I don't have to be afraid anymore. And if that does try to enter in, I just dismiss it and go, nope, not doing it today. And I push forward. And it's about really recognizing who you are and moving forward. And I'm so grateful because I'm living my best life now. And actually, I'm following my passion, my dream, what I want to do, not somebody else's, and something that I should have been doing for years. So
I
rewriting
love
the
that.
writing it right now. And I'm writing my story and I'm sticking to it. I'm
That's
stick-
awesome. I love that. I love that you're following your passion. I love that you're in a good place. I love that you're not allowing fear to enter because that's a big one, right? That's fear is the biggest, culprit of not allowing us to move forward, myself included. I mean, all of us, right? Huge challenge. So good for you
the
for
second part,
overcoming that.
fear does cripple you. It doesn't allow
Those,
you to propel forward. It keeps you still. It keeps you stuck. And I
right.
spent many years being stuck and rewriting that story in my head of I can't, all these excuses of why. And I get it. Some of us, it's overwhelming. It takes over. But then I started to, before my last surgery in 21, I started putting the pieces together. And I'm like, I started putting pieces together and going through more counseling. I had my counseling for that year, and then I went back to counseling and started putting the pieces together of my desire of wanting to go back to school. So I rewrote my story. I'm going to do what my pastor has called me to do. I'm not going to sit here and just accept what's happened. And fear is a big one. It grips people. It doesn't allow people to propel. It allows people to stay stagnant, unhappy, miserable. And life has so many blissful layers to it. It really does. And either we start peeling back those layers and be brave enough to do it. And we are brave. We are brave. We do have the power within us to cultivate that. We just have to stop listening to the noise in our mind that tells us you can't do it. You be fearful. It creates such doubt. But when you start pushing against that and say, no, I'm taking control of my own life. I deserve to have the life that I've been created to be. That's when things really happen. Is
Mhm.
it no, but you have to have resilience, and we do have resilience. We all do.
Right. And I think you kind of answered this question already, but it's, do you have any advice that could help someone in the present day who's faced with the same or similar situation you were faced with? I mean, you think you pretty much said it, but I figured I'd ask you the question again anyways.
Well, I would say on that, again, is putting boundaries in your life with people. I think boundaries are key, um, just so that we're able to grow. And advice would be, if there are people in your life that don't respect you and don't treat you the way you treat them, you need to have boundaries. We all need to learn what boundaries are. I used to think boundaries weren't, oh, that's not nice. Somebody doesn't want to help. But no, people have boundaries. You set up boundaries and don't allow people to come in across those boundaries that shouldn't be saying things or doing things towards you. So I feel like boundaries are important. Seeking out the tools and resources to help yourself are
Mhm.
important.
Very good. Yeah, I agree with you. Boundaries, I learned that recently, are very important. And whether it's family members or not, and for me, it seems like sometimes we give a pass to family, right? Because we feel we have to, it's our family. And honestly, I've learned not the case. Sometimes that's where the clearest boundary must be set, even for the ones that we love, those members that are in our family, our spouses or whomever, it's important to set those boundaries. So I agree with you 100%. So thank you.
They feel very comfortable. The people that are the closest to us feel very comfortable. And it's usually our loved ones, and it's usually our spouse or our children, or, you
Mhm.
know, I feel like it's very important to have reciprocity. And I also feel that it's like the water wheel. And I look at it as a wheel turning in the water.
Mhm.
Water's you, Joanna, water's coming to me. If there's a big log that's coming down in that little lake or river or wherever you're at with the water wheel, and it gets stuck into the wheel, then the wheel can no longer turn at full capacity. It's trickling to you something, and I'm not getting any, and you're not getting either, a good amount of water. So at that point, you need to look and say, what is happening in this relationship?
Mhm.
And again, it is about boundaries and it's about reciprocity. And I always call myself, I am a whole loaf. I'm not going to give you a crumb. I'm going to give you the whole loaf. If I align myself up with you, whether I be your friend or your mother or your family member or your girlfriend or your fiance or wife, I'm going to give you, the whole loaf. If you're going to give me a crumb, I'd rather eat by myself. And
Yeah,
so
I get it.
that's look at life
Okay,
now.
great. Yeah. All right. So based on your story, is there a present day solution that could have helped your past situation?
A present day solution. I would say having faith, being strong, being resilient. Again, um, seeking out the help that you need. But being, I always say this, have your faith is magical. Having faith is a beautiful thing, and we need that, whatever your beliefs are.
Mhm.
Um, being strong, being humble, being kind, being resilient. These are solutions, seeking out tools and resources to help yourself and not allowing our conditioning beliefs, whether it be cultural or religious beliefs, to hold us back. So those are some of my solutions.
So do you, I mean, this is, again, if you feel like answering this, it's up to you, but do you feel faith and religion are the same, or faith and spirituality opposed to religion are the same?
No, I don't. Religion is conditioning, and
Rituals?
it's it's very a religious person isn't committed to anything. A spiritual person um is committed. My relationship is with Christ, but I do have layers of spirituality. You know, my layers are um spirit, source energy, universe, God. I love them all. So God is my foundation. I'm grateful. I have gratitude that I know him, but it's more than just the traditional beliefs that I grew up on. It's more than that. There's layers of spirituality, and you just have to begin to peel back the layers. But I believe in our cultures, and I believe in our religious conditioning. We listen, and we again are the little soldiers that march to what they're telling us.
Mhm. Got it.
I
Very
do
good answer.
I do not subscribe to man-made rules. I do
Right.
not.
Yeah. And religion, one should be able to say without equivocation. I mean, it is man-made, right? Religion is man-made, right?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
dictatorship, and it's really sad because it's really not supposed to be about that. You know, um, God
Yeah,
wants
I always struggle with the term religious wars. I still can't I can't get past it. You know what I mean? Because it's like
awful,
religious wars. Okay, what does that mean? I think we all need to stop and think about that. You know, we hear it, we see it.
and there
Do we
will be
really?
people that will not agree with what we have to say right now on that.
Right.
But everybody has their own belief, and everybody has their own relationship with whether it be God,
Yeah.
higher power. That's up to you
Right.
to.
And I'm not trying to say that one shouldn't go to religion. I mean, it's whatever's going to bring that peace into your life, right? I mean, that's how I feel. I would never say, oh, don't, everyone has a right to do as they feel. It's just I think that I struggled as a kid, and maybe you had the same experience where I didn't feel religion was fully completing me. It wasn't until I got older and started recognizing, like you said, the layers of spirituality. You know what I mean? For me, it was not just talking the talk, it was walking the walk. And when you mention Christ, to me, it's like I want to live like and be like Christ, not just say he died on the cross for my sins. I wouldn't have wanted him to die on the cross for my sins. I want to make sure that I do what I need to do so that I don't sin, so that I do the right thing going forward. And I think of others, not just for myself. So, I think when you start to, without, rocking anyone's world, because religion has such a stronghold sometimes, it's nice to just stop and think for a second and just say, really analytically, what is it that we're trying to accomplish? What are we trying to get out of this? You know what I mean? It's hard for people to do sometimes, to critically think like that. If they've been so conditioned for over the years to follow a certain thing, it's hard. And we certainly don't want to rock anyone's world, right? We don't want to destroy it, but maybe just a shift in thought process. You know what I mean? Just a shift, a gentle shift in how we process and perceive things. What do you think?
I feel like people need to, I used to say this. I used to say, "Don't tell me about Jesus, show me Jesus."
Hmm.
So,
Exactly.
I feel like people, they're so busy warring against each other. My religion's right, this is right, that is right. Everybody has their own take on it. But I encourage people to, explore their spirituality and peel back the layers and really be in sweet communion. Because when you can be in sweet communion, things really do shift. I'm not saying when you go to church, you just, that's when you have your time. No, you can pray anywhere, you can be anywhere doing that. Um, I remember as a child in school, in one of my special schools, I remember them coming in and bringing little puppets and saying, "You can pray anywhere." And I always remember that. I think his name was Duso, the little puppet or something, and they talked about God, and it was a beautiful thing. But I think when you press in to have that relationship, I believe it will change things in your life. But if you think I only can go to church and that's the only day I get fed and this is what I do, no, it's more than that. Get off the pew. Just don't sit here as a little bless me club, feed me, and then as soon as I walk out the door, I'm yelling at my wife, or I'm miserable, or I'm having an affair, or whatever we're doing. Just really, it's again living true to yourself and being authentic, having authenticity
Mhm.
will allow you to do on any of that. You really need to be true to yourself. And I think, and today we have so much going on and people are against each other and fighting and all this whole different dynamics of everybody's segregated and separate. This has been going on for decades, just of
Yeah,
all, and it's heightened even more now than ever before, whether it be in politics or whether it be in religion or whether it be in countries. It is really, it's disgusting if you ask me. It's
it's
awful.
true. We repeat history with really no effective change. It's sad, right? It's unfortunate. Yeah.
We treat our animals better than we treat people. And I've discovered, I've been thinking about that for a long time, but recently, in my quiet time, I said, why is it that, and animals show more love to one another than we show to one another? And I think it's not okay.
It's
It's like,
unfortunate.
man, let's get back to humanity. What does that mean to have humanity? So
Yeah,
for it's my I'm expanding my mind. I am thinking, and don't get me wrong, we've all played a part in, segregating or doing things that weren't right, or it's not okay. Like, when does that stop? When does the judging stop?
very, very true. Very true. We're not perfect. And so we should not be judging because we're not perfect, right? None of us are. And really, truly, we're all equal. We're one in humanity. We're one of the collective. So what we do comes back to us and so on and so forth. When someone else hurts, we hurt, right? This is my true belief, right? Of course, we all make mistakes. We're human. However, the key is, what do we do with that? Do we learn from it? Do we move forward? Do we change? Do we evolve for the better? I mean, that's the key, and in my opinion, another important thing is we have to give ourselves grace, right?
Absolutely.
Sometimes we're so paralyzed
Mm,
because we don't give ourselves grace for what happened in the past. And truly, there's nothing we can do about the past, right? Whatever happened, happened.
that's
We
right.
just need to say that was then, this is now, and now going forward, right? Learn from whatever and give ourselves grace and move forward, correct the behavior, make the change, make the positive change, right?
I do agree on that. I feel like this is what we get stuck in. We get stuck in guilt and shame. The
And yeah,
guilt and shame, and like you're saying, give ourselves grace, but with
yes.
the guilt and the shame of whatever has been our conditioning beliefs or what we've been taught. Oh, you don't do this. Even when you have conversations with people start to project. It's like, this isn't what this is about. I don't subscribe to that anymore. When people are projecting and doing all that, I just step off, very kindly shift. I could be in a room, but then I just shift, or I become more silent and I listen. There's no need for that. A lot
No.
of people are dysregulated and you can see it. They're just projecting, projecting, projecting instead of getting silent with themselves and really finding out, where is this coming from? What place is this coming from? Instead, they're projecting on other people. That's where the road rage comes. That's where the anger comes. That's where the fighting and the yelling comes. And then what happens? We're all dysregulated, running around, feeling the traumas in our body, not releasing it. We're just holding it and storing more up there. It's not okay. To me, it's not okay. I don't want to live my life that way. I did it for so many years, and I don't have to live in that anymore. The guilt and the shame, and I'm sorry. And little girls have been taught to say, I'm sorry. No, I don't have to be sorry anymore. For what?
Right. Right. Just do better, right? That's all we can do is just learn to do better, you know? That's
Exactly.
true. So what have you gained from your past situation?
I have gained, um, I've gained a lot. I've gained a lot of wisdom and understanding about who I am as a human. I've gained my faith again comes in very strongly in who I am. Um, I've gained. I'm a very strong human, and I'm grateful for that. Just
That's beautiful.
a learning, evolving. I've also gained. I also realize I'm enough. I'm enough, and
Hmm.
being is a beautiful thing. And I'm not no longer thinking I'm not good enough or um, feeling the rejection if somebody doesn't like me or I'm not accepted. I'm enough. And when you can actually say, I'm enough, that's a beautiful thing.
It is. That is very beautiful. Thank you for that. That's wonderful.
And I remind myself when that little voice creeps, and I'm
Hmm.
like, enough. And if I have to put my hands on my hips like Superwoman and get
It's
power,
true.
take my power back, I'll do it. And I
It's true.
do.
Well, sometimes our mind can be our biggest enemy, right? Because it wants to keep telling us certain thing, and we really need to just say stop, right? Stop, stop, stop the rhetoric. It's not serving me, and change that viewpoint. You know what I mean? And just make that positive change. So yeah, you're right. You're
We
right.
all have. And it's a beautiful thing that we don't have to listen to that anymore. And again, clarity of mind. When you are seeking clarity of mind and when you are eating good and when you're putting good things in and when you're not watching a bunch of hours of TV and just being conditioned to all of this stuff that it doesn't feed you. It doesn't feed your soul. It doesn't feed your spirit or your mind. What is it doing? It's creating people not to think for themselves. It's creating people to be inflamed and to have inflammation and to be toxic. You can't have clarity, and then all these other things added on to it. And then you have all these pharmaceuticals in there. It's a lot.
A
So you
lot.
start clearing off some of that and we start getting healthy within our minds and our bodies and our spirit and our soul and our gut, you feel like a whole different person and then you are able to see clearly. That's
Yeah.
really have clarity of mind and just know I am enough. I am enough and not to believe those lies and the conditioning of you're not good enough. If your parents told you that or a childhood friend or a boyfriend, you're not good enough. You're the those things don't exist. Shut that down because it's taking away from quality of life right in this moment. It's has you looking back at the past, and as you're looking back at the past, you can't even see the blessing that's right in front of you or coming for you because your head is turned the other way. You're back in the past. You're not in the present moment. And how if you're not in the present moment, how can you take the step tomorrow for the next day?
Exactly. Exactly. We can't do anything with the past. We need to leave it alone. We shouldn't allow others to project things onto us, right? Because it's not ours, right? We know our own truth. We know our
Doesn't.
own authentic selves, right? We know the truth, right? So let's not let others determine what our truth is, right? Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So you kind of answered this already, but what are the things you do to face current challenges?
Um, Current challenges, I do read a lot about dysregulation and trigger points, and I also do self-love, self-care. And I made a little funny joke to my friend Lacey today.
Mhm.
Um, I said to her, it's not we us girls need to do self-care. And I'm not just talking about getting our nails done and our toes and our hair done. I'm talking about real self-care, going within. If it means getting up every morning before the sun comes out and standing outside in the uh, beautiful rays, not going to damage our free radicals in our body. You stand out there, you do some breathing in, breathe out, some movement, reading good books, things that you like, be creative. I love to paint. I love to be in nature, love to hike. Seek things that you're passionate about. Light your fire within your soul because there's fire inside of you. Find what you enjoy. Take the time to be outside in nature. God gave us that. It's beautiful nature. I spent the weekend enjoying and looking for sunflowers. We didn't find sunflowers, just a few, but we found butterflies instead. They were beautiful.
And
hiking
all
around
that's free, right? It's all free.
golf,
It just need to take the time. It just is that's all it takes, right? And
and
the
be
intention.
go out there. I'm a tree hugger. I know that sounds crazy, but trees, think about it's a metaphor for me. Think about the roots within the ground and what that
Mhm.
creates, how that feeds the earth. Get out there and be around trees. It says that it changes your energy. Start reading about things like that. Have mentors in your life. Have coaches in your life that are magic and wonderful. Listen to great podcasts that are going to enlighten you. Feed your soul. Listen to music. Get up and dance. You know, in 2020, I made a New Year's resolution. I don't do resolutions of diets or anything like that, but I do of what I'm going to change in my life, what I'm going to implicate into my life, and what no longer serves me, I let go. I burn it on a piece of paper and throw it into the fire, throw it into the fire pit. I light it up and throw it in there, or I just throw it in there.
Mhm.
Um, what I like to do is just make beautiful commitment in what I'm going to do. And what I did was in 2019, I said every day I would get up and dance. And every day I got up and danced in front of the, I'm telling you what, I had so much joy that whole year. It was magical. So
Oh,
your body. I have a teacher, Zen Jen, her name is, in Southwest Institute of the Healing Arts. She gets us dancing before our class starts to regulate our body's movement. We need to move. We need
sure.
to. I was moving on my patio this morning, dancing in the moving our body and grounding myself and praying and feeling good. That's the day that's how we need to start our day off. And if you think, well, I don't have the time, take the 5 minutes. Take 5 minutes. 5 minutes, just 5 minutes to just center yourself before you're faced getting in the car, running out to traffic, before you get at your desk and people are demands, or your children are demanding, or your husband or your kids or whoever's after us all day long that they need. Fill your own vessel up first, because I always say we are like pitchers of water. It is full to the top, and then we sit here and we pour into everybody's glass, and in the end there's no water in our pitcher for our own self to pour a glass. So if
Right.
we don't feed our souls some good nourishing, whether it be food or exercise or joy or um, beautiful things into our mind, um, how do we make it through today? How do we make it through our journey and all the things we're faced with?
It's
So that
true. It's very important. You're right. Very important. So, is there anything you'd like to say to the actors in your story, whether living or no longer with us?
absolutely. I would say you no longer have power over me. You
Mm,
no longer, whether they hurt me directly, physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, you no longer have power over my life. You
that's
know,
tremendous. It's great.
whispering in my ears, whatever. Because as I allow, people, if I allow that to continue on, then they defined who I am. They don't define who I am as a human. I make that choice of who I am. Who am I? I am made beautiful in God's image. I am fearless. I'm powerful. I'm beautiful. And when that little voice tries to sneak in, I say, nope, not today. Not today. Because why should I allow that? I spent many years allowing that. And
Hmm.
my goal in life is, if I take my last breath, I want to leave a beautiful legacy in how I made people feel. Maybe not so much what I said, but how I made an impact on their life. So, in order for me to do that, I have to take back my power where people have tried to strip it away. And I have to live in my authentic self and be the human that I was created to be. So, that's really important for me. It's important for me to leave that for my children and the people that I love and the people that I come in contact with every day. Because I say every single morning, open doors and opportunities and divine appointments. And those beautiful divine appointments are magical, whether it be the lady Peggy at the grocery store at Safeway, or whether it be a man of God standing there, or somebody in school, my beautiful teacher. It
Hmm.
just, or whether it be you, Joanna. I mean, have you or talking to you now. Those are
Hmm.
divine. is that are just, they're beautiful. And I
They
wanted
are
a
beautiful.
present moment with that. So if I'm allowing the past again to dictate to me somebody that came in and caused trauma and pain to me, how can I be my best self? How can I move forward? I'm not allowing that anymore. For what? I got the
Good for,
badge button for that.
mhm.
I'm doing that no more.
No, I know. No, good for you. You're right. You're so right.
Happy, joyful.
Hmm. Hmm. So, what would you like to say to the actors in your story, whether living or deceased? I know because your parents are deceased now, but what would you like to say to the actors in your story?
I would say to the actors in my story, I would, first of all, I'd say, you didn't know how to make the joke. I forgive them. I let them go. I have to let them go. And you have to, and there's controversy. Some people say you should forgive, you shouldn't forgive, but I do believe in forgiving. I just let them go. I let them go. And I learned um they have no hold on me. You
Right.
know,
They have no power over you, like you said before. Yep.
I
That's
just,
great.
you know, I
Do
get
you
to,
think,
I had a chance to see what it looked like and felt like.
yeah. So do you think, and this I think is where I was trying to go with, do you think the actors in your story, whether living or deceased, do you think they can change for the better, even evolve, whether it's in this lifetime or now that they've passed in the spiritual realm?
I do believe I'm in school. One of my classes was for the um it's for afterlife doula. So you hold space for somebody that's crossing over and for their families, and you help them ascend. If you just hold space and you're there to assist them. I do believe people do ascend to the other side, and I do believe they get to see. I believe they get to see, and then I believe they go back in, and there's work to be done if they left off this earth offending and doing things to people that they shouldn't have done. So and I do believe this, and there's going to be controversy on this. I believe they come back in. I believe who's ever up there, God assisting, I believe they come back in. And for me, I feel like that's why I want to have a beautiful, clean
Yeah,
slate, because I don't want to come back in with them again. I
I
don't
hear
want
you.
to do it again because
Yeah,
I deserve better. So as I let go of all the trauma and things that's happened to me through many people, not just my parents being the way they were, but even through people that did a lot of terrible things. Um, I don't have to come back in with them if I am in right standing and doing what I need to do, that I can heal so that I don't come back around and maybe be different places. I surely don't want to come back in with my ex. So it's like, if I don't heal from that and let all that go, I will revisit it again. Karmic wheel. And whether
I
people believe,
believe that too.
I believe that, and I've been
I
learning
believe that too. Yeah, I know it's very controversial, because people
it.
don't necessarily believe in reincarnation, but I really do. I feel like this life is it's a journey and we're meant to learn.
A
And I
lot of
really do feel if we don't learn our lessons, we have to come back and maybe repeat, and maybe we're faced with another challenge. I don't know, but I'm with you. Like I'd rather deal with whatever I need to deal with in this lifetime and just, hopefully not have to come back, just maybe ascend to that point where it's like we're good, no need to learn any further. At least that's what I feel. So,
I feel like too that people come in to teach us. They come in to teach us. They come in to show us what it looks like. Sometimes they mirror who we are and who we are to them. So we're in action. So whoever presents open doors and opportunities and divine appointments, pay attention, listen, have your eyes wide open, because whoever's standing in front of you could be trying to show you something, teach you something. And then it's up to us. Is this person just come in to teach me something? Did this person come in? A lot of times people think it's a love interest that comes in, but that's not always the case. They could just show up to show you something, teach you something, be a friend, not be a friend. So it is many different things that we need to pay attention. Again, expansion of the mind.
And openness of the mind. That's the first key, right? To even
Open.
begin to entertain it, to even acknowledge it, and then maybe do something with it, right?
It's a
Yep.
lot. It's a lot to really, people come in for a reason. It doesn't matter where it's at. It could be at the store. It could be the guy fixing your car. It could be anywhere. It could be the person on the telephone helping you. How are you going to respond?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So what do you think prevents people from changing or evolving for the better?
I think it's fear based, old conditioning, again, conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
We're stuck in that old myth of this is the way it is. My family was like this, my parents, my grandparents. Um, Change is hard. Ripping the band-aid off may be hurt. I had somebody tell me that, but that's going to hurt. Well, pull it off anyway. It's
Mm-hmm.
hurting anyway, staying in what you're in. Come on. But I believe it's fear. I believe fear. It's scary, and and it is a lot of times shame, um, just stuck. People are,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yep.
really, we have to take a step and trust the process. And it is trust in the process. And
And having faith in the process and trusting it and moving forward, making those choices. Yep. Yeah.
and just take the step because, just that one step. And yeah, you maybe step a few steps back, but then take some more steps. I feel like it's that little girl, little boy inside us that tells us, you're not good enough. You can't do it. Just stay here. But, we all have a little child inside of us, and that little child is beautiful and sweet. And what's happened is that little child has been, poked at and picked at. And we come in so beautiful. And then people get a hold of us and do things. But it's up to us to change the story. And the story is beautiful. I don't want to leave off this earth in the story that I've had it in times in my life where it wasn't very nice or if it was sad or horrible. I don't want that story. I don't deserve that story. None of us deserve that.
That's true. You're so right. 100%. So if you alone could implement a positive change in the world, what would it be?
I'd bring back humanity.
Mm, yep.
You, we are human. We are.
That's right.
Where is the an unconditional love? People
Yeah.
talk about love, but where's the unconditional love?
Yep.
Unconditional love, that's something I've been working on the last, I'd say, 2 years. And I really, when you're doing something for someone or you're assisting or you're showing that love, don't expect anything back because you'll always be disappointed. You'll always be sitting in disappointment and dissatisfied
Hmm.
because you have expectations. So being having humanity, we need to come back to the basics. I've been saying that for years. We
Hmm.
need back to the basics. Look at our world. Look at our world. Things are more important than human life.
Yeah. Material things. Yeah. That's what it seems to be. It's unfortunate. Yeah.
And there's a lot out there. I don't even want to get on the subject. We'll talk.
Yeah. No, I know more to come in the future, right? But yeah, you're right. Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's why, the Reach group on Facebook and it's also on YouTube that I started, it's all about empowering humanity. It's having that safe place, right? Where, yeah, you're welcome. It's
Thank you.
it's a passion of mine and it's really truly something that I hope grows exponentially because it really is a safe place, a safe haven for all of us for when that person is ready, right? To make that change or flip the switch, to have a support group, to have people there where religion's not a factor, you know, um, politics is not a factor. It's just human to human, people to people, helping, right?
I agree. And your reach program is beautiful and it is touching people. Steady wins the race. So just keep doing what you're doing.
Right.
Cultivate.
We're small in numbers, but with the hope is to grow and to grow at its own time. It's not for me to decide. It's hopefully, like you said, there's a lot of us that have a lot of fear or shame, or we don't want to put ourselves out there for fear of getting hurt. And listen, I get it. I'm sure you get it, right? We both get it. But really, that's the only way we can overcome, whatever we're dealing with and improve and evolve to be the better beings that we want to be, right? You have to be vulnerable, put yourself out there and, allow great things to happen. So, yeah, it's true. So is there anything else that you'd like to convey that maybe we haven't covered?
No, I really enjoyed speaking with you and allowing me to have this opportunity to share with you. And thank you. Thank you.
No, and thank you. I really appreciate you being here, sharing your personal story, because your story is going to resonate with others. And it's going to help them, hopefully, right? Take that next step to recognize, you know what, now's the time, right? Let's move forward. So thank you.
And you know
All right,
what? We're all in this together. So let's
we
do it.
sure are. We
Let's
sure are. We're all in this together. We're all human, right? We're one race. We're all together in this, and we just need to just extend that olive branch and help one another. Think of others, not just ourselves, right? The golden rule, right? That's the key, in my opinion.
keep
That
people.
to me is the answer. Before we make a decision, put yourself in someone else's shoes. Would you want this done to you, right? If you were in their shoes. And if the answer is no, then don't do it, or perhaps you can derive another solution that's better for both. And then now you have a win-win. So, yeah, I truly believe in that. So, again, thank you, Laura. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, okay?
Thanks, Joanna.
Okay, hold on. Thank you.